After a year of secretly dating my best friend's sister, I was planning to go public on her birthday. The day before her birthday, my best friend, Chun, and I went to bring her a meal, but I unexpectedly saw her holding hands with another man, their fingers intertwined. My best friend exclaimed in shock. It's over, my precious cabbage has been snatched by a pig. But this kid looks decent enough, my sister has good taste. I clenched my fists, suppressed my emotions, and forced myself to say calmly, yeah, Shia has good taste. When my best friend and I arrived at the entrance of Chin's dance studio, she was just coming out. She leaned lightly against the wall, her slender fingers tapping on her phone. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I secretly opened it to a message from her. Just finished practice, so tired. Seeing her exhausted look, my heart ached for her. To Shuya, dancing was her everything, and she would spare no amount of sweat and effort for it. I was glad she was resting at that moment and that we hadn't disturbed a practice too much. I tightened my grip on the bento box in my hand. Just as I was about to step forward, Chun grabbed me and pulled me behind a tree trunk. So sneaky. Annoyed, I followed his gaze. Ian, the campus dreamboat of their department, was pushing open the studio door and walking up to her. He was wearing practice clothes and ruffled Chin Shuya's hair, an ambiguous atmosphere that anyone could see at a glance. Chun, cursing under his breath, said in astonishment, "No way. Duan, what's my sister's relationship with him?" They had no relationship, because she was in a relationship with me. Chin Shuya and I had already been dating for a year. Though it was a secret relationship, we got along harmoniously, and our feelings were even growing stronger. I vowed silently in my heart, holy shit, my sister's really been snatched by a pig. The words had barely left his mouth, and Chin Shuya coyly took his hand from her head and intertwined her fingers with his. As the two of them drew closer and closer, Yin's kiss was about to land on her forehead. Suddenly, I dared not step forward, but Chun excitedly slung an arm around my shoulder and dragged me in front of them. Well, Chin Shuya, so you've started dating behind your two big brothers' backs, have you? Seeing us, her expression faltered for a moment, then quickly shifted to one of impatience. Why did you come without calling first? Her hand didn't let go. Instead, she gripped his even tighter. It's because Duan's mom made some delicious food and said we should bring it over to you. Chin Shuya's gaze shifted to my hands. The bento box I was holding suddenly felt inexplicably hot. My mom only has me as a son, so she especially dotes on this little girl from the Chin family, our longtime family friends. But my mom didn't make this. It was the fruit of my labor after a whole afternoon in the kitchen. My mom has never even let me wash a bowl, let alone cook. But Chin Shuya was so tired and my heart ached for her. So much so that I willingly prepared a meal for her with my own hands, which is why my fingers are still covered in several bandages. So that Chin wouldn't notice anything was amiss, I lied and said it was my mom's cooking. Ian pulled Chin Shuya into his arms and said with displeasure, "But Shuya and I already have plans to get hot pot. I love hot pot too, the spicy, boiling, red chili oil broth. But Chin Shuya can't eat spicy food. Being conscious of her appearance, she says spicy food gives her acne and oily food makes her fat. To cater to her tastes, we always chose light, non-spicy cuisines whenever we ate out. Even the meal I made today was Cantonese food without a single speck of chili." She lowered her head and said nothing. The atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward. Chun laughed, trying to smooth things over. It's fine, you two go ahead and eat." "Oh, by the way, you two, when did this happen?" he asked curiously. Chin Shuya, flustered by the question, said shyly in a low voice, "Well, it's only been a month." "So, I'd been kept in the dark for a whole month?" Chin curiously asked Ian. "So tell us, how did you win my sister over?" Ian looked disdainful, lifting his head arrogantly. "Don't get it twisted, your sister was the one chasing me for a year." It had also been a year since she took my hand after her birthday last year, blushing as she said, "Brother Duan, why don't we give it a try?" Over the past year, I had stayed up all night with her to study and talked her to sleep over the phone for hours. Over the past year, I had taken her to the aquarium to see dolphins and to concerts to see her favorite stars. I was even thinking of proposing to her on graduation day. While I was lost in my beautiful fantasies of our future, she and the department heartthrob were passionately involved. No wonder that on countless nights after she told me she was tired and said good night, I would see her game history the next day showing she had been playing with a man all night. She explained to me that he was just a gaming partner she'd met online, and I believed her without a shred of doubt. I would even buy her breakfast the next morning and deliver it to her dorm. As I stood there stunned, Chen spoke up on the side. That's my sister, right? This kid is not bad looking at all. My mind was a mess. I only heard my own trembling voice say, Shuya has good taste. The two of them before me were a perfect match, the talented scholar and beautiful belle of the dance department. They were a better match than she and I. Chen kept calling him brother-in-law, and Qin Shuya would occasionally chime in, her words filled with nothing but affection for Ian. Brother, don't tell my boyfriend my embarrassing childhood stories. Senior, are you hungry? Should we go eat first? I couldn't hear a thing. In the end, Chen pulled me away in a daze. Behind us, I could hear the sounds of them being lovey-dovey. Hey, who was that guy next to your brother just now? That's the big brother from ex-dorm. We grew up together. Oh, childhood sweethearts, right? No, my relationship with him is just like that of a real brother and sister. After a year of being in a relationship, she says we're like brother and sister. Duan, you were played like a fool in a phantom of happiness. The next day was Qin Shiya's birthday. We had originally planned to announce our relationship to her family and friends today. When we first got together, it was she who said we should keep it from everyone. Our families are too close, and you and my brother are as thick as thieves. It would feel awkward to reveal our relationship. I could understand her thin-skinned pride as a girl, so I was willing to wait until our relationship was more stable before making it public. A little over a month ago, I said to her with anticipation, your birthday is coming up soon. Let's go public then. She smiled and snuggled into my arms, cooing her agreement. Later, she started getting very busy, spending all her days in the practice room. Aside from good morning and good night, there was almost zero communication with me, her boyfriend. With dark circles under my eyes from a sleepless night, I looked at the gift I had carefully prepared for her on the table, a Tiffany & Company necklace that I could only afford after working part-time for a long time. After I started college, my mom stopped giving me an allowance to teach me self-reliance. She had once said with envy, my roommate's boyfriend gave her such a beautiful necklace. It's so sparkly. To satisfy her vanity, and so she wouldn't have to envy other girls, I scraped and saved to buy this necklace, which was not cheap for a student. It seemed I wouldn't be able to give it to her now. I fell headfirst into my pillow. Qin Shiya's call came through. From yesterday afternoon until now, this was the first call she had made to me. Over the course of that day, countless thoughts had flooded my mind. I even sank into self-doubt. Was it because I wasn't good enough that she wouldn't announce me to everyone? Was it because I wasn't good enough to her that she chose someone else? I just couldn't accept that this past year of happiness was merely an illusion, even though the truth was laid out before my eyes, leaving no room for me to make excuses for her. On the other end of the line, she asked, are you coming to my birthday party today? I gave a bitter laugh and asked, what do you think? There was a moment of silence on the other end. After a long pause, she spoke softly. Brother Duan, I do hope you'll come. After all, in my heart, you're the same as my own brother. You're both my brothers. Her way of addressing me had changed. Before, when she was happy, she'd call me hubby. And when she was angry, she'd use my full name. Now she was back to calling me Brother Duan. A year-long relationship, and in the end, all I got was a brother. This call from her wasn't really about hoping I would attend. It was her unilateral declaration that she and I were no longer in a relationship, or rather, that we never had been. I suddenly admired her foresight. As long as the relationship wasn't owned to others, it would be easy to end, just like now, without even a formal, decent breakup. Ridiculous. I made my voice sound deliberately cheerful. Sure, I'll be over in a bit. Senior is here too. Don't worry, I won't say a thing. She let out a long sigh of relief on the other end, as if she had been absolved by my words. I didn't understand how the person who was calling me baby just the day before yesterday could now see me as a burden. I sighed, picked up the carefully wrapped gift box, and headed out the door. The birthday party was held at a hotel near the school, attended by many of her classmates and friends. I didn't know any of them, because she had never introduced me to them, but Ian was very familiar with them, and everyone teased him, calling him brother-in-law. From their conversation, I learned the story of their romance. It turned out that Qin Shia had liked Ian for a long time, but since the department's heartthrob was pursued by so many girls, she never had a chance to get closer to him. It wasn't until almost a year ago when they were assigned to the same dance instructor and became partners that they gradually grew close. Blushing, Qin Shia responded to their teasing coquettishly, telling everyone not to ply Ian with drinks. She'd never said such things when Chun was forcing drinks on me. Half an hour had passed since I'd arrived. She hadn't looked in my direction even once. Growing up with her, she was sure my temperament would keep me from making a scene and embarrassing her, and I wouldn't. After all, her brother and I are best friends. Besides, watching the two of them so inseparable and then revealing that I was just the unofficial, secret boyfriend of a year, it would be a huge blow to my pride. A bitter feeling filled my heart, and I downed one glass of baijiu after another. Seeing this, even Chun, who usually loved to ply me with drinks, couldn't help but tell me to slow down. I waved him away and kept drinking until my mind was a total fog. Chun sighed. "You wait here. I'm going to take a piss, and I'll take you home when I get back." The moment he stood up to leave, I left by myself. I never thought the day I'd been looking forward to the most would be so agonizing. At that moment, I didn't want to say a word, nor did I want anyone near me. Across the street was a quiet bar, its entrance crowded with college students waiting for tables. I shook my heavy head and decided to have another round alone. Handsome, it's a bit tight for seating right now. People were gathered in groups at the door. Being alone, I seemed out of place. I waved my hand and said a friend was waiting for me inside and got in smoothly. Inside was packed, and most of the seats were full, except for a girl at a table in a dark corner. Her silhouette was cool and indistinct. She was alone, looking like she was waiting for a friend. I could barely stay on my feet and just wanted to find a seat. I struggled to steady my swaying body and, fueled by the alcohol, walked straight up to her, leaned over, and asked, "Excuse me, are you here alone?" The long-haired girl didn't even look up. "Not giving you my WeChat." I quickly waved my hands and explained, "No, that's not it. I'm alone too, and there are no tables left. Could I possibly share with you?" Then I generously added, "I'll cover whatever you've been drinking." At that, she finally looked up, eyeing me with suspicion. That's when I finally saw her face clearly. I wasn't wrong. She really was a beauty, but I wasn't in any mood to appreciate her beauty right now, let alone try to hit on her. After a moment of silence, she moved the bag from the seat opposite her. I seized the chance to sit down and pulled out my phone to scan the QR code on the table. But I'd really had a lot to drink. My hand was shaking so badly, I just couldn't get the code to scan. The beautiful girl, unable to watch any longer, spoke up. "Just drink what's on the table for now." I nodded and without ceremony started downing one glass after another. When my shaking hand occasionally spilled some liquor, the beautiful woman opposite me said nothing, silently taking a tissue to clean it up. I wondered, was my tolerance this low, or had I just had too much to drink? I could drink chun under the table, and I hadn't even had that much tonight. Perhaps it was just the heartache. Only by giving in to the drunkenness, by acting the fool, could I appear a little less pathetic. Just as the alcohol really started to hit, several girls showed up. They seemed to be the friends the beautiful woman sitting across from me was waiting for. "Seriously, XINU, what's this guy doing here? I thought this was supposed to be a girls' night out." They stood to the side, whispering among themselves. The beautiful woman took a sip of her drink and said unhurriedly, "He's had a bit too much." I was afraid he might fall, so I just let him sit down for a while. As the world spun, I thought I heard my phone ring. That was Qin Shia's favorite song. The despair and pain hit me all over again, and my head dropped as I slumped onto the table. I had expected to be met by the hard, cold tabletop, but instead, a soft and delicate hand was there, precisely cushioning my face. The person across from me stood up, sighed softly, and picked up my phone from the table. I closed my eyes heavily, unable to hear anything. When I woke up again, Chun was beside me, shaking me frantically. "Seriously, man, how did you get this wasted?" Standing nearby was Qin Shia, a dark look on her face. Ian also had a strange expression, his gaze darting between me and the long-haired beauty, but for the most part, it rested on her. In a daze, I heard her clear, cool voice say, "He's really drunk. You should take him away now." I don't remember anything after that. Chin carried me back. When I woke up, he asked me how I ended up drinking with Xinu the day before. Xinu? Who's that? I never heard of her, I asked. Who doesn't know her? The unattainable beauty of a neighboring law school. She was voted campus belle right after enrolling. My little sister grits her teeth just thinking about her. He added in a hushed tone. I heard Chun Yin tried to pursue her when he first enrolled too. It was only then that I suddenly remembered Qin Shuya mentioning her to me. She'd said there was a girl in the neighboring department who always had a huge crowd of guys trailing after her. She also said that her looks only appealed to guys and that other girls couldn't stand her type. Back then, Qin Shuya and I were in the throes of passion, so I believed her without a doubt, even saying, Shuya is the most beautiful girl in the world. Looking back now, it was clearly just jealousy. If Qin Shuya was the pure, innocent type, then Xinu was a vibrant, striking beauty, tall and slender with defined features and long, glossy black hair. She was the very template of the boldly featured type of beauty Chun had described to me. Speaking of which, I suddenly remembered I forgot to pay for the drinks last night. I pulled my phone out from under the pillow. There was a pinned message on WeChat. It was from Qin Shuya. She had always been my top priority. Are you feeling any better? I replied. Thank you for the concern, but there's no need for it. The typing indicator appeared on her end almost immediately. After a long wait, she sent a single line. Out of a sister's concern for her brother, no matter what, I'll always wish you well. The Qin Shuya of my memories. At 3, calling me brother in her sweet, childish voice. At 7, giving her only lollipop to me instead of Chun. At 13, tugging on my hand, coaxing me to teach her math. At 19, calling me the second she won her dance competition. In the year we were together, I never once doubted her. My childhood sweetheart, the girl in my memory, was so innocent and lovely. I couldn't accept that I had misjudged her so completely. I stared at that sentence for several long minutes, and suddenly I felt a sense of release. Finally, I swiped her contact away and deleted our endless chat history. All those little moments from our relationship that I had once treasured. And just like that relationship, so casually dismissed by her with a single word, brother, it vanished without a trace with one light swipe of my finger. Before I could even go looking for Xinu, she found me. Just after our evening class ended, I noticed the students ahead of me kept looking back over their shoulders. Curious, I followed their gaze. Bathed in the sunlight, Xinu was dressed in a youthful athletic outfit. The legs beneath her tennis skirt were fair and straight. She was also looking around, and finally her eyes met mine. She walked straight towards me. She stopped in front of me, took a gift box out of her bag, and handed it to me. Her voice was gentle and pleasant. This is yours. I was a bit dazed, but I quickly realized it was the birthday gift I had prepared for Qin Shuya. Just then, Qin Shuya and Een walked by, hand in hand. Her gaze fell on the gift box, a flicker of astonishment in her eyes. I quickly pushed the box back to her and said in a voice loud enough to be heard, "It's yours now." Qin Shuya's expression soured, which in turn made me feel a little better. Xinu pressed her lips together, studying me for a few moments with a searching gaze, before finally nodding and tossing the box back in her bag. Once Qin Shuya and the others had left, I asked her, "How much was the drink from last time?" I said it was my treat. "I don't remember." "What about your payment history?" "Deleted it." "Huh? Then how are we supposed to settle this?" "You could treat me to hot pot." I hadn't had hot pot in a long time, and now that she mentioned it, I was quite craving it. She turned and started to walk away, leaving me with a stunning view of her back. I stood frozen in place. She glanced back over her shoulder. "What are you doing? Keep up." It was still early, so the hot pot restaurant wasn't crowded, and we didn't have to wait in line. Not long after we sat down, I saw Qin Shuya and Een walk in, arm in arm. When she saw me, she was taken aback for a moment, but her expression quickly returned to normal. Een, on the other hand, didn't look too pleased. He took the initiative to approach us. "You guys are having hot pot here too? Can we join?" He said this not to me, but while looking at Xinu. Xinu looked up at me as if asking for my opinion. Qin Shuya now looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth between the boyfriend she had worked so hard to win over and Xinu. I readily agreed. Xinu proactively moved from the seat opposite me to the one beside me, making room for the young couple. Looking at the menu, Een asked, Is the all-butter hot pot okay? Qin Shuya smiled and said, I'll go with whatever you want. Liking someone really makes you willing to change your own tastes. I, who couldn't live without spice, was willing to eat lightly for her. She, for Yin's sake, was willing to eat the spicy hot pot she could never handle before. I was lost in a daze until Xianu next to me waved a pen in front of my face, snapping me back to reality. She tilted her head and asked, Want some fatty beef? I nodded, so she marked down 2 plates and said casually, I don't know how much guys can eat. Are 2 plates enough? I said a little embarrassed, Let's make it 5. The portions here aren't very big. I used to come here often. Actually, the portions are quite generous, but I happen to be a fatty beef annihilator. She looked shocked. Can all guys eat as much as you? That's amazing. Girls usually have small appetites. Qin Shuya used to be like that, eating only half a fistful of rice per meal to lose weight. Compared to them, I really could eat a lot. Hearing this, Yin looked at me curiously. You two seem to know each other pretty well. It was strange, really. This was only the second time Xinu and I had met, but when we talked, it felt like we'd been friends for years. I always felt a sense of familiarity with her. Qin Shuya suddenly cut in. They don't. They didn't even know each other before. Her tone was cold, unlike the affected air she put on in front of Yin. Xinu, who had been focused on ordering, head down. Hearing this, she looked up and stared at Qin Shuya, calm and composed, as if sizing up the delicate relationship between us. Yin immediately changed the subject. Xinu and I actually know each other pretty well. We were in the same club before. Not that well. We've barely met. Yin's smile froze on his face. The atmosphere became extremely awkward. Xinu spoke without sparing anyone's feelings, and Qin Shuya found fault with everything about her. After all, Xinu was prettier than her and was the campus belle her boyfriend of 1 year had failed to win over. It would be a miracle if she liked her. This whole situation was so strange. After all, at the table, Qin Shuya was sitting next to her official boyfriend, and across from her was her underground boyfriend of 1 year. Yin was sitting next to his new girlfriend, and across from him was the goddess he couldn't have. I buried my head in the fatty beef, not wanting to get involved in the awkward atmosphere. Halfway through, the two across from us went to the restroom. Xinu took the gift box out of her bag again and handed it to me. I played my part. Here, take it back. She wasn't just beautiful, but smart too. She could see right through my act for Qin Shuya. But I really didn't want to see that gift box again, so I said casually, It's really for you. It's no use to me, and it'd be a shame to throw it away. She smiled and didn't refuse again. All right then, she said. In that case, I'll treat you to a few hot pot meals in the future to return a favor. We're already talking about the future. It seems Xinu wasn't some aloof ice queen after all. She clearly enjoyed making friends. I nodded while eating tripe, and then I heard her suddenly ask me, You like her? I thought I had hidden it so well, but she saw right through me in an instant. I could only deny it stubbornly. Of course not. Her large, grape-like eyes blinked as she leaned in and asked, How about I give you a hand? The guy next to her confessed his feelings to me once. If I so much as crook my finger, he'll come running. It's the perfect chance for you to swoop in. Her words made me very uncomfortable. I felt as if my character had been insulted. Even though I was still suffering from withdrawal because the relationship had ended so abruptly, I understood with perfect clarity that no matter how wonderful I once thought she was, the person she now was unworthy of my love. In other words, I was lovesick, but my head was clear. I said coolly, Don't talk nonsense. She has a boyfriend. So you know she has a boyfriend too. She sat up straight, the smile vanishing from her face. With a serious expression, she said, Of all the single people out there, why do you have to go for one who's already taken? Xinu's words were an instant wake-up call. She was right. There were so many other girls. There was no need to waste my time on Qin Shuya. I nodded at her in sincere agreement. You're right, gorgeous. An unusual blush spread across her face. Actually, I'm also. The other two returned just then, cutting our conversation short. The atmosphere between them was strained, as if they had just had a fight. The rims of Qin Shuya's eyes were red. In the past, my heart would have ached to see that, but now I felt nothing at all. The expression on Yin's face wasn't any better. She forced a smile. Sorry, something's come up, we have to go. After they left, I wolfed down another 2 plates of fatty beef by myself. XINU watched in amazement. From now on, you're my official hot pot buddy. I smacked my lips. How so? You can really eat. Watching you eat is appetizing. XINU and I really became hot pot partners. She said watching me eat a lot and with gusto gave her a good appetite, and it was the same for me. After all, she was so easy on the eyes that I ate even more and with greater relish. This virtuous cycle led to us meeting up for a couple of meals out every week. After eating together so often, we discovered we were indeed the perfect partners. We always agreed instantly when ordering food. Occasionally, I had an evening elective that wouldn't end until 8 or 9. She would wait for me at the entrance of the academic building, drawing a crowd of onlookers. Chin teased, "No way. Man, you managed to land a catch like XINU?" I flatly denied it. He nodded thoughtfully. Right. Someone even Ian couldn't win over. How could a stroke of luck that great fall into your lap? I punched him in the back, drawing a muffled grunt. But it seems my sister and he have been fighting recently. The two of them aren't really talking. We used to argue in the past, but I was almost always the one to make peace. For a boyfriend she'd worked so hard to win over, she would probably be the one to extend an olive branch this time. Chin Shia had been texting me frequently lately. Good morning, good night, have you eaten? Even more often than during our honeymoon phase. I told her several times to stop texting me, but to no avail. In the end, I blocked her and finally got some peace and quiet. That day after finishing hot pot with XINU, it was already almost 10 p.m. It was getting late, so out of concern for her safety, I offered to walk her back to her dorm. She didn't stand on ceremony and even had me carry her backpack. After all, we had gotten to know each other well by now, and we'd sometimes even bicker a little while we ate. Her mouth was like a little machine gun. She talked so much that our meals could sometimes last for 2 or 3 hours. To this day, I still can't figure out how she earned the title of the untouchable flower on a high peak. When we reached her dorm building, I was about to leave, but she stopped me. I have something I want to tell you. She hesitated, stammering, which was unlike her usual self. I tilted my head, looking at her with suspicion. Under the dim street light, a faint, almost imperceptible blush seemed to appear on her cheeks and the tips of her ears. We did order the medium spicy broth today, I thought. Was it so spicy it made her like this? I gave her a sympathetic look and said, nothing to be embarrassed about. If you can't handle the spice, we'll just order the mild broth next time. A gentleman can at least be that considerate. At that, her face became visibly redder. She closed her eyes, her expression that of someone about to bravely meet their end. Dejectedly the rest of her words were drowned out by a sudden ringtone. I pulled out my phone. It was a call from Chin Shia. I'd blocked her on WeChat, but I'd forgotten about her phone number. I hung up and looked up at XINU. What were you saying just now? I didn't catch that. She deflated like a punctured balloon, waving her hand. It's nothing. I'll head up first. I watched her go through the dormitory gate, then turned to head home. I didn't expect to see Chin Shia downstairs from my apartment. We'd been together for so long, and it was always me waiting for her downstairs at her place, bringing her breakfast and milk tea. This was probably the first time she had ever come to my place to wait for me. She always said it wouldn't be good if my parents saw. Almost a month had passed since we'd last seen each other. She was squatting on the ground looking pitiful. Who knows how long she'd been waiting. When she looked up, her face was streaked with tears, her voice choked as she asked, "Why did you block me?" She always knew exactly how to handle me. A few tears, a little pouting, and I was helpless against her. But now I only saw it as another one of her little tricks. I sneered and retorted, "You have a boyfriend. Is it appropriate for you to be messaging me every day?" She was at a loss for words, unable to answer. She changed the subject, asking, "What's going on between you and that XINU?" I didn't understand what Chin Shia was trying to do now. For the past year, I had been kept in the dark, immersed in the false happiness she had given me. Only at the end did I realize I was like a substitute player who never gets to go on the field. Even though I trained harder than the main players, I could never take the stage or win any applause. I even had to sit on the sidelines and cheer for them. I had accepted this outcome with relative calm, but now Chin Shia seemed to be the one who was wavering. I shot her a sidelong glance, my tone impatient. "What's it to you?" I had never spoken to her in such a tone before. Her eyes reddened with anger. "Don't you go after XINU. You'll never get her." She has tons of suitors, and you can tell she's not a good person just by looking at her. That's enough. What right do you have to criticize XINU? Has she ever done anything out of line? Hearing her speak ill of XINU, I instinctively jumped to her defense. You're the one to talk, Qin Shuya. You were dating me while chasing after another guy, and now that you've got him, you're suddenly thinking of me again. How shameless can you be? As soon as the harsh words left my mouth, Qin Shuya froze on the spot. I pushed her aside and started to go upstairs. Dejectedly, I regret it. Her voice was terribly hoarse, thick with tears. It made me pause, but my heart only softened for an instant. The next moment, I walked away without looking back. Chin told me, XINU is strange lately. I've been seeing her in my elective class all the time. She's been asking me out for meals more and more often. Occasionally she'll sit behind me and in the middle of class, poke my back with her pen. A really authentic Sichuan place opened on Zhongjiang Road. Want to go after class? I turned back. No, we were too close. Her breath washed over my face, warm and fresh. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly turned back around. But I couldn't take in a single word of the lecture anymore. My mind was filled with the image of her clear eyes and her fair, delicate skin seen up close. Chin noticed I was distracted and nudged me with his elbow. Hey, is there really something going on between you two? My sister broke up with that guy. Then completely out of the blue, she told me she likes you. He stared at me intently, as if awaiting my response. He still didn't know about everything that had happened between us. I sighed and said, Shuya is a great girl, but I just see her as a sister. I don't like her. 2 months later, our roles were reversed. Now was my turn to say she was just a sister to me. I didn't expect him to tell Qin Shuya so quickly. As soon as class was over, Qin Shuya cornered me at the classroom door. She sent Chin away and led me to a deserted stairwell. Her eyes were red like a rabbit's. My brother said you don't like me. I don't believe it. We were so close before, and you like me so much. How could you suddenly stop liking me? It was only after I got together with him that I realized after a year with you, you had already slowly filled the space in my heart. Duan, we can start over. We can be as happy as we were before. Qin Shuya knew how much I used to like her, so she squandered that affection without a second thought. She even thought I would wait for her forever right where she left me, but I wouldn't. I felt she didn't deserve it. Overcome with emotion, she excitedly tried to throw herself into my arms. Just as I was about to push her away forcefully, to sneer at her for thinking so highly of herself, a soft laugh came from the top of the stairs. A very familiar voice. XINU peeked her head over the railing, her long hair hanging down naturally. She looked down at us nonchalantly. Sorry, I just couldn't listen to this anymore. This sister, whatever your name is, could you let go of my boyfriend now? XINU was wearing beautiful makeup today, descending the stairs as if she were walking a runway. It made Qin Shuya beside her seem utterly drab in comparison. She pulled me to her side, linked her arm with mine, and nestled intimately against me. Her body heat seeped into my arm, making me feel feverish all over. Qin Shuya in disbelief asked me with reddened eyes, "Is what she said true?" My heart was pounding, my every breath filled with her fragrance. I nodded dazed. XINU, already taller than Qin Shuya, looked down at her provocatively. My boyfriend is taking me to dinner. Do you want to be a third wheel? I had never seen Qin Shuya look so heartbroken. Her eyes were vacant, and her whole body seemed to slump. She walked away, lost in a daze. XINU looked up at me, her tone laced with exasperated disappointment. You're really something, Duan. A grown man, and you can't push a girl away. You just stood there and watched her throw herself into your arms. I wanted to defend myself, to say that I had been about to push her away, that I wouldn't have let her truly lean into my embrace. But my gaze was completely captivated by her beautiful, slightly angry face, and I found myself unable to utter a single word. I just looked down into her eyes, which were deep and gentle, as if they held a universe of stars. Chin was right. XINU's eyes were so tender she could look at a dog with deep affection. I was almost bewitched. I shook my head hard, trying to fling the jumbled thoughts out of my mind. I had seen the throngs of suitors who followed XINU. How could someone like her possibly like me? But she rose on her tiptoes, cupped my face in her hands, and examined me from side to side. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Your face is so red. I shook my head. It's not that. She smiled and said, then let me ask you, what do you say to me being your girlfriend? You became my girlfriend, and it was an official one at that. When Shin found out, he was full of praise, saying I had really done well for myself. I never would have guessed. Duan, no wonder you weren't interested in my sister. With a great beauty like You right in front of you, anyone would choose her. I admit, I felt a little insecure at first, but You said, have you been so emotionally manipulated you've become an idiot? Aren't you handsome? Are you poor? Qin Shia had never complimented me. She was always talking about how rich some friend's boyfriend was, or how handsome some classmate's boyfriend was. Over time, I'd almost forgotten that plenty of girls found me attractive, and that my family was actually quite wealthy. It was just that they, under the euphemism of building character, had made me stand on my own 2 feet. You made me realize that I was good enough, that I was worthy, and that I deserved her. Half a month after we got together, I met her friends again, the same group whose faces I couldn't see clearly at the bar last time. A few of the girls stared at me, then asked her curiously, isn't that the guy from last time? I couldn't get a good look at his face last time. Now that I see him, he looks so familiar. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. To be honest, you looked a little familiar to me too. I asked her, have we met before? An unnatural blush spread across her face. Instead of answering, she snatched a drink that was being passed around. Maybe you shouldn't drink. Didn't you drive here today? I shook my head. It's fine. You could just drive later. Overjoyed, I didn't refuse a single drink, downing one glass after another. By the end, I was in a bit of a daze. The more I looked at XINU, the more I adored her. She couldn't watch anymore. She sternly took my glass away and, supporting me, led me outside. The truth was, I wasn't drunk, but I wanted to pretend I was. That way, it would be perfectly natural to get a little closer to her. When she pulled up to my apartment building, I was reluctant to get out of the car, so I just closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. She didn't rush me. Instead, she gently stroked my hair and muttered, "You fool, drinking so much when you can't handle it." Her tone was affectionately scolding, and my heart seized. Perhaps worried the seatbelt was uncomfortable, she leaned in close to unbuckle it for me. The moment her fingers brushed against the hem of my shirt, I snapped my eyes open, caught her hand, and our eyes met. The lighting was dim, the atmosphere intimate. Her red lips parted slightly, as if she were about to say something. I didn't give her the chance. I cupped the back of her head and kissed her. It was a tender, lingering kiss. Her hands were soft, her lips were soft too, and my heart was the softest of all, melting completely. One night, just as I'd said goodnight to XINU and was getting ready for bed, a call came from Chun. "Can you come over right now? My sister's on South Bridge. She insists on seeing you, or else she's going to jump." He sounded frantic. It didn't seem like he was faking. For this best friend I'd grown up with, I had no choice but to get changed and go out. Lately, Qin Shia had been seizing every chance to see me, either by having Een ask me out for a meal or by coming to my house to deliver something on her mother's behalf. We were bound to run into each other often, and Chun and I still had to remain friends. Clearing the air would be better for everyone. When I arrived at the bridge, all I saw was Qin Shia with one leg over the railing. Her makeup was ruined by tears and her hair was a mess, a far cry from her usual composed and elegant self. Chen was pacing frantically, yet he didn't dare get any closer. Every time he did, Qin Shia would scream hysterically that she was going to jump. But I knew her too well. Qin Shia was afraid of water. Even if she were genuinely suicidal, she wouldn't choose to die this way. I'd never seen Chen so panicked. He asked me, his eyes red. "My sister was desperate to see you. What on earth happened between you two?" Seeing me arrive, Qin Shia asked, breaking down, "Is there really no chance?" "It's all right, Duan. As long as you break up with her, we can go back to how we were." While trying to calm her, I gestured with my eyes for Chun to seize the opportunity and pull her down. After nearly an hour, Qin Shia's strength began to fail. Seizing a moment when she was distracted, Chun lunged forward and grabbed her by the waist. Watching the two of them tumble to the ground, my heart ached not for Qin Shia, but for Chun, who was still visibly shaken. After all, Qin Shia hadn't really wanted to die. She just wanted to force me out to meet her. She took the opportunity to slump to the ground and begin to wail. Once Chen had composed himself, he finally asked me, Did you two ever date? I took a deep breath and told him the whole story. It was the first time I had ever spoken so openly about something that had caused me so much sorrow. Chen fell into a long silence. Qin Shuya yelled through her tears. Why can't we go back? We've known each other for so many years. Why does that mean less than a few months with her? Why do people who are in the wrong assume they will always be forgiven? I couldn't understand it. Chun and I carried her to my car. When we arrived at the foot of their apartment building, Chun held a struggling Qin Shuya back from grabbing me and said quietly, Duan, our family has wronged you. Don't worry, I won't let her disturb your life again. We're still best buddies, right? I smiled and nodded. Chun and I were closer than blood brothers. By the time I drove back to my building, dawn was breaking. After such a draining night, all I wanted was to complain to Xinu about how exhausted I was. I pulled out my phone and sent her a good morning. Good morning, Duan. I came by this early hoping to get breakfast with you. And you? Where have you been at this hour? I looked up to see her staring at me with a cold expression. With a face like that, it was no wonder people used to call her an ice queen. Chen told me Qin Shuya was threatening to kill herself and insisted that I go over. What does her threatening to kill herself have to do with you? Xinu interrupted, frowning. She's only reaping what she sowed by regretting it now. You have no reason to pity her. What kind of fucking victim sympathizes with their abuser? I said no more. In my heart, I felt there was quite a bit of truth to what she said. She nagged on for a good while, like a poodle with its fur standing on end. It felt like she was even angrier about what I'd been through than I was. I stepped forward and pulled her into my arms. Her body stiffened for a moment, but the next second, her hands wrapped around my waist and her voice softened considerably. Don't bother with her anymore. I breathed in the scent of her hair and whispered, Okay, Xinu, why are you so good to me? She hugged me back tightly. Of course I'm good. We're both good. Yes, we're both good. I never used to think I was good. It was Xinu who told me through all the little things that I had good taste in the hairbands I picked for her, that my sense of style was good, that my table manners were good, that the texture of my hair was good. Then she went on to praise me for being kind, handsome, and ambitious, calling me the best man in the whole world. Gradually, I also began to believe that I was a good person. When you give your love to someone unworthy, don't doubt yourself, because the right person is waiting for you in the future. I hated military training. The sun was scorching. My skin was already fair and delicate. The sun would make my face flush red and even cause rashes and peeling. Paired with the baggy military training uniform, I looked like a country bumpkin. That was one thing, but more importantly, the sun could make me faint. Because my form wasn't up to standard, the drill instructor pulled me out from the main group and made me practice on my own. I practiced squats repeatedly under the hot sun until, overcome by a wave of dizziness, I really did faint. At that moment, the main group from my class was practicing goose-stepping and had marched quite a distance away. I collapsed on the scorching hot concrete, hoping someone would find me soon. I wasn't found by my own classmates or instructor. Instead, another boy appeared. Without a word, he hoisted me onto his shoulder and started running toward the infirmary, panting with effort. The sunlight was so glaring I couldn't open my eyes, couldn't get a clear look at his face. I could only hear people behind him shouting his name. Duan, Duan. I woke up in the infirmary. He was dozing in a chair by the bed. Hearing me stir, he immediately opened his eyes. I spoke softly. Thank you. He scratched his head sheepishly. It's nothing. I just wanted to come to the infirmary to enjoy the air conditioning myself. I really wanted to ask for his contact information, but before I could open my mouth, he was already getting up. Since you're awake, I'm gonna go. I've been slacking off for too long. The instructor will make me do push-ups again. And just like that, he left. After that, I saw him around school often, but he didn't seem to recognize me, nor did he turn to look back at me frequently like other boys did. Time and again, I mustered up my courage, only for it to end in my own cowardice. But, hey, do you remember me? That I had rehearsed countless times in my mind, never had a chance to be spoken, because it seemed he was in a relationship. Every time I spotted him in a crowd, his gaze would be resting gently on another girl. I'd seen that girl before. The cakes and milk tea she gave to a boy named Ian, or maybe it was a different Ian, would always end up on my desk. Of course, I threw them all in the trash. I thought the two of us would never cross paths again, Until that day at a gathering with my roommates. I heard a voice trying to hit on me from behind. Hey, beautiful, are you here alone? I had heard this kind of opening line too many times, and my subconscious reaction was to refuse, but his voice sounded very drunk, so I couldn't help but turn around. It was Duan. Thank goodness he was drunk enough that night. Thank goodness the lights in the bar were dim enough. No one could see my eyes light up. The end.